Good morning, guys. We are back with your second workout of the week. We are in an entirely upper body week, so I hope you enjoyed that workout on Monday. We're coming back today and hitting our triceps, our biceps, and our back some more because there's just not enough back work out there in the world for us. For equipment, it's going to look a lot like it did on Monday. We are going to use Bosus again, so if you do not have one, you can do all of the exercises on the ground. It's not a problem. But if you do have one or a stability pad, it's a great way to add in a little bit of a challenge for your core and a little bit of challenge for that lower body as we focus so much more heavily on our upper body. Weights, we're all going to use 2 10-pound weights, so you don't need a huge amount. We're doing some different type of movement patterns here today, so we're doing variations of rows to try and really wear out our back and hit that big fatigue point. It's a lot of two-step exercises as well, so when you look down in the description, it's going to sound like fancy and complicated, but when you see it, it's really pretty simple. We're just trying to be very explicit in the description. Yeah. So, but let's get started with our warm-up. It's going to be the same as we did on Monday. So let's crush that really quick, couple minutes, and then hit the workout.
Woohoo! Let's do it!
All right, guys, let's get started with our warm-up here today. So, reverse lunges, single leg V-ups, and alternating Supermans. We're going to work through 3 rounds of that. Everything's in 10 reps a side. We're just going to crank it out. Remember, you should get warm as you go. So their depth might get deeper on your reverse lunges. Your speed might get faster as you get warmed up. Don't try to jump into this full blown. It's a warm up for a reason. Okay? So reverse lunges will stay on the same leg. We're going to do 10 on each leg. Remember that that front leg is your anchor. So you're really sitting into that hip. You're sitting into the midfoot, straight down through your laces, waking up those glutes, hamstrings, and quads. Switching sides.
And 10.
All right, we're going to go down flat on our backs for single leg V-ups. So Andy and Jane are going to show opposite ways to do the exercise. Andy's got a little more higher level, pulling her back all the way up off the ground, keeping her leg nice and straight. Jane is taking a slight modification here, bending her knee as she pulls it in, keeping the majority of her back flat on the ground and only pulling her shoulder up off. Remember, it's 10 aside. You want to focus on the core. So before you lift that leg, before you lift that arm, your core should be braced. It should be nice and tight, engaged, so it performs the motion. If we're loose and relaxed, you're likely to recruit a lot of back. Next up is alternating Supermans. So we're flat on our stomach, our feet, our opposite hand and leg are lifting up off the ground, alternating sides as you go. So left arm, left leg, or right arm, right leg. Big key here is this is posterior chain activation. A lot like a swimmer, so we really need to think about squeezing our hamstrings, squeezing our glutes, keeping our core moderately engaged, and trying to lift from our shoulder as opposed to trying to lift or throw from from using entirely our lower back. The girls are doing a good job of keeping their eyes orientated more towards the ground so they don't get that big chin up and aggravate the neck. So we're back up for reverse lunges, 10 aside here. So it doesn't really matter if you guys prefer alternating at home. Our structure is to stay on the same side, really focus the movement pattern on waking up that muscle. So alternating, sometimes I think that we can miss out on getting those muscles to activate. So specifically here, waking up our glutes and our hamstrings to lift us out of the bottom. But it does generally yield a little bit more fatigue. All right, onto those backs, single leg V-up. So maybe you started with that modified approach and you went with a bent knee. Now we've got Jane still staying in a modified position, keeping most of her back on the ground, but she's actually going with a straight leg now. So a little bit harder. It's a middle step between where Jane is, or was in the last round, and where Annie has been. So another good option to use either as you get warmed up, or just as a starting point, as opposed to working where Annie is right now. So remember, 10 aside, and we're gonna flip over to our bellies. For those of you that can. So alternating Supermans, squeeze your glutes. I can't say it enough. Think about moving from your shoulder, not throwing from your back. You're trying to move your shoulder into a little bit of retraction here and lifting it off the ground. You're not trying to throw your low back and lift your whole chest off the ground. That'll put a ton of load into the low back when we only want a little. We want that load to actually go all the way up to our shoulders. So we're getting posterior shoulder activation and not just low back work. 20 total, 10 on each side. So we're doing a nice tempo here, guys. We're not going crazy fast, a slight pause to feel those muscles work. Otherwise, why are we doing it? Just running through the motions. All right, last round here, guys, reverse lunges. So kind of running through that checklist in your head, guys. Is my foot flat on the ground? Is my weight nice and even through my foot? Is my core engaged? Am I staying level at my shoulders? Keeping my posture upright? You want to be able to say yes to all of those on every single rep, which I know seems like a lot, but once you just get into a routine, it becomes much easier to remember because it becomes second nature. All right, flat on your back, guys. Last set of single leg V-ups. So if you were following the modification and you feel great and you're ready for a little bit more, try working with Annie right here and getting all the way up off your back. If you are predisposed to any low back pain or maybe you just have a weaker core, stay with Jane here and use the flat back modification or even the flat back and bent knee modification. After 10 on each side, we're going over to our bellies, finishing up our warm-up here. Oh yes, feeling that core work.
Good burn.
It's good. We always want to wake up our core muscles. They're so essential to movement. They are our foundation. So in our core, meaning not just our abdominals, but also the posterior of our core, right, of our center point here. So low back, glutes, posterior shoulder blades, posterior shoulder in general. You will notice Jane is pretty high up off the ground from her chest, just to give you guys a little bit of perspective. Jane has a lot more extension in her low back than Annie does. It's a natural position in her spine, and it's a tendency that she has from years of powerlifting. So she's not overreaching here, although she looks like she could be. So remember that you want to work where you are, as opposed to where someone else is. Okay guys, so now we're nice and warmed up. We're gonna go grab our equipment, you grab yours, and we're gonna come back for our first round of workouts.
Woohoo!
All right guys, let's get started with round one. So today we are going to be doing some different patterns here for our rowing. Similar to what we did on Monday with those overhead presses where we were holding both weights overhead. Today we're going to get into a bent over row, and you're going to row both weights in. This is your starting position. So from here we're going to extend one, row in, and then alternate to the other. We're going to do 10 on each side, getting 20 reps total, but forcing ourselves to keep that really tight core, making sure we're not arching our lower back, and also focusing on that beautiful scapular retraction, trying to hold a pencil between our shoulder blades while we do these reps. So because we're holding a contraction and alternating, it is helping us to use lower weight. Trying to make it just a little bit more difficult. So we are going to lay down either on the bench or the ground. We're going to do a skull crusher, 10 reps of them. So remember, that's bending at your elbows. And then we're going to do a narrow press, 20 reps of a narrow chest press. So if you're on the floor limits your range of motion. If you're using a bench, you want to stop at 90 degrees. So let's get started. Remember, we've got 10 here. You want to make sure that you're not swinging around from your shoulders and you're really isolating the movement coming from your elbow. You're also keeping that core nice and tight. Drive it into the bench. So after 10 here, we are switching to chest presses for 20. Keeping that neutral grip, so you're keeping your palms facing you. The floor for me, and maybe you at home, or limiting your range of motion by stopping at 90 degrees, is going to put more of a load into our triceps. So we're really getting a big burnout, doing essentially 30 reps on our triceps here. There we go, guys. All right, so we are going to move to our bench, or if you were on the floor, try to elevate yourself here. If you cannot do a V-sit, so we're going to do a V-sit curl. If you are uncomfortable with that, you should stand and do them with me modified. But we're going to start here first with a normal curl. So we're rotating palms up from a neutral position where they face our hips, up to a palm-orientated position with it back towards us. We're going to do 10 of those, and then we're going to switch and do a hammer curl. If you need a break in that V-sit, switching to hammer curl, go ahead and put those feet down, take a little bit of a break. Maybe you do the first 10 feet up and the second 10 feet down. Maybe you just hit the pause button.
10.
Good work. So now we're going to go to a shift plank. So down to the floor. We're going to get into an elbow loaded position here. And you are going to work shifting your weight forward towards your elbows and then back towards your toes. We want to move at a moderate tempo. So you want to spend almost like a second pause at each end. And really drifting in between them, doing 30 total, so that when you're at the top is one, when you're at the back it's another. Just be mindful here of what your pillar is doing, what your shoulders to hips are doing. We don't want your butt to be rising up and down, because then you're not actually shifting from toes to elbows. You're just lifting your butt up and down.
And good.
Good. 30 reps, guys. All done. We're going to go back on our Bosu. So this one, it has no weight or very, very light weight here. So we are going to get into a Y position. We're all opting for no weight. So if you remember bent over Ys from previous videos, we're going to hinge at our hips, keep our back nice and flat, extend our arms above our head in a Y. So this is our starting position. You're going to lower one arm, bring it down towards your knee, raise it right back up, and alternate to the other side. So you should feel this work in the posterior of your shoulder, so the back of your shoulder. A lot of rotator cuff muscles doing work here, but really, really, really critical that you keep your core tight. If you have any low back discomfort, you need to focus on your core. You might need to sit up out of the bent in posture, pick your chest up a little bit, maybe stand up from your hips a little, but first and foremost, you have to put the consideration into your core. The other thing to look at is your head. Let's make sure that we're matching our eyes down to the floor. Try not to stare at us on the TV. Okay. So we're going back down to the floor. Or to your bench, whatever you guys have available. So now instead of bending at our elbows, we will be swinging from our shoulders. So you'll straight arm swing overhead 10 times. And then, as you see Annie doing here, and then we're going to do a wide chest press. So we've got 10 here.
If you're using 2 weights, make sure that you keep them apart. Try not to let them touch. If you're using 1 weight, maybe it's a little bit heavier, or maybe you're already getting some good fatigue in those triceps. That's totally fine. Keep that core super tight every time you reach overhead.
10.
All right, wide. So we're going to orientate our palms away from us, bend at those elbows, making a beautiful 90-degree angle at our elbows, and then driving back up. Again, the floor does that for me. If you're on a bench, you need to control that range of motion. Do not allow yourself to go past 90 degrees. We want to keep this load heavy in our triceps. And again, that purpose is just for this workout. It's not a normal range of motion we would do on a bench press style exercise, but we're adjusting it to achieve the maximum load on our triceps here today.
20.
And break, good work.
Split squat.
All right, so we're gonna get into a split squat position here. We're gonna take our opposite leg, have it in front with the weight in our other hand, and we're gonna cross body hammer curl. So right up to our shoulder, right back down. We're gonna do 10 on one side, and we're switching 10 on the other, and then you are done with this first round. Perfect. Switching sides. Remember, you control that depth. If you feel like your legs feel nice and fresh and you want a bigger challenge for your core, for balance, for your total body, just sink deeper into this split squat. Woo! Round 1 done. Hopefully you feel that little tingling in the biceps and triceps here. I know I feel it. We've got 2 more rounds, so let's get some water and hop right back out here. Let's get started with round 2, guys. So we're grabbing our free weights, hopping right back on that Bosu if you have one. Remember, no Bosu, no problem. Just go from the ground. And then look in the description and order your own. So, neutral grip, rowing up to start, we're extending 1, alternating. So lots of control on that extension, and keeping those shoulder blades pinched nice and tight. You can take a look at Annie and Jane here. You can see their nice flat backs. You can see their hips are slightly tucked under, keeping a nice neutral spine position. And even take a look at where their head is angled. You see them looking down and out at the ground in front of them, instead of pulling their head up and looking at each other, so that they can maintain that neutral spine position all the way up. All right, we're going down to the ground, triceps. So remember, this is a doozy, so this is skull crushers. So we're bending all at the elbows, 10 of them, and then 20 narrow chest presses. All right. So remember that you want to minimize the movement from your shoulders and maximize this movement from your elbows. Just make sure that you keep an eye on those weights and you do not accidentally hit yourself in the head.
And 10.
Good, so now narrow. Keep those palms facing in. Remember, we're only working down to 90 degrees. So if you're on a bench or an elevated surface, be sure to stop your elbows right where they would contact that surface. If you're on the ground, you're lucky. The ground does it for you. Just make sure that you're controlling the weight as you go down and not just letting your elbows bounce off the floor every time as your triceps start to get fatigued. As always, keep that core tight. Perfect.
Decent.
All right, guys, so a little core work here for you. For me, I'll stand. Well, I'm going to kneel this time, so I'm not so much taller than them. But we're going to start with a normal curl. So our palms start facing in. They curl up to our shoulders and face back at our shoulders or at ourselves. We've got 10 of them. Make sure that you're controlling, and when you're in that V-sit, the tendency is to shorten the range of motion and not extend fully at those elbows. Make sure that you're extending. Hammer curls. Now our palms are just facing in. We're working straight up right to our shoulders. Should feel that load really start to set in now. Feeling those biceps burn. Remember to control your movement. Don't let yourself sway around. All right, we have a shift plank. So set those weights off to the side. Remember, we're from our elbows, and it's a nice, smooth tempo. Forward is 1, back is 2. Core is crazy tight here, making sure that you're squeezing your glutes, keeping your whole body involved in the plank. You'll see that Annie and Jane are doing a nice job of keeping their hands apart here, keeping them out flat on the ground, or even if they're making fists with thumbs up, it doesn't matter. We're just working a little bit of external rotation of those shoulders by picking that position versus holding our hands together.
Yep. Perfect.
Good work. We're getting back on the Bosu, guys. So no weight this time unless you have some very light, 2 to 5 pound weights. We're going to get into our bent over position, remembering to squeeze our core, keep our hips tucked, raise our arms into a Y. This is starting. Lower 1, alternate to the other side. Remember to keep your eye contact out and towards the ground, out in front of you, trying to help you maintain that neutral spine position up through your cervical spine or through your neck. So this work you should feel primarily in your upper back, behind your shoulders. If you're feeling a lot in your low back, you probably need to stand up. You need to think about your core contraction. You need to keep those hips
20.
tucked slightly more under. Feeling it.
Tricep overhead extension.
All right. Back down to the floor or your bench. So now we've got the straight shoulder swing. Right overhead, coming up. Slight bend in those elbows for comfort. But we're doing most of this movement from our shoulders. After 10, we go to our wide chest press. Every time we take this weight overhead, I've said it a million times, you gotta think about your core. It's no different just because we're laying on the ground than if we were standing up. Keep that core tight so there's no movement. All right, rotate those palms. Keeping our elbows 90 degrees. You want to keep those wrists right over your elbows as you lower down. Don't let them drift in. So if you look at me really quick, what you don't want to do is this, pulling your elbows in or your hands in towards your chest. Keep them out over your elbow. 20 reps here, guys. Feel those triceps burn.
One more. 20.
Good work. All right.
Let's
We are standing up. Some of us slower than others. Only need one weight for this. Remember, weight is opposite of the forward leg. Sink yourself down into that. We have that hammer curl across our body here. 10 on each side. Keep that core super tight. You want a little bit of that pelvic tilt under so that we don't arch our back. But really what that is squeezing our glutes.
10.
Feel the burn. Last one in this round, guys. And then we've got one more time through. And we've thoroughly worked our triceps, biceps, and back today. Squeeze that core, help yourself maintain balance. Whew. All right, guys, good work. So a quick sip of water, and then let's get right back out here, crush the last round. Let's wrap this workout up and finish round 3 right now. So grab your free weights, hop on your Bosu if you have it, or your stability pad. Remember, this is our bent over neutral grip row. So row those hands in and then alternating extensions here. Take it a little opportunity to evaluate yourself. Make sure that you've got that neutral back, core is super tight, and the shoulder blades are pinched. You're holding that pencil right between those shoulder blades the whole time. Perfect. Laying down on the ground or your bench, whichever you have. Skull crushers to narrow chest press. So remember, skull crushers are all elbow bend. It's a hard word, guys.
It's difficult.
So we've got 10 of these guys. And then we're moving on to our narrow press for 20.
That's 10.
30 reps on our triceps, guys. This is a lot. Make sure that you're controlling the weights down to the floor of the bench. Don't let them control you. As the exerciser, you are always in control. Core is nice and tight. Remember, it's our last round, so don't give up on anything here. Just keep working through every rep, one by one.
Last one.
Woo-hoo. Good job, guys. We're standing up, moving to a V-sit. So if you don't want to do a V-sit because of low back issues, feel free to follow me. Otherwise, you're with Annie and Jane. We've got our rotations up for bicep curl. Palms start facing your hips and they finish at the top, facing your chest. And then they follow the same rotation back down to your hips, palms facing in at the bottom. 10 of these. We go to a hammer curl. Right now, keeping those palms facing in the entire time. Remember to control those weights. You want to get that full elbow extension. You don't want them to pull you around when you're in that V-sit.
10.
Good work. We're doing a shift plank, guys. Give yourself a little bit of space here from those elbows. 30 reps, pushing from our toes all the way up through our elbows. Our goal here is to keep ourselves parallel with the ground the whole time. We're just moving a couple inches in each direction, challenging that core. Remember, our tempo is moderate and our hands are apart, so we don't want to see any hand holding or fingers laced. That by not doing that, we get a little bit of external rotation, so really good for our back, really good for our posterior shoulders. Keep working.
30.
Good work, guys. All right, we're getting back on our Bosu. This is a no weight necessary, again, unless you have very lightweight. Tilting that pelvis just a little bit, flattening our back out, raising our arms into a Y, and lowering one by one here. Remember that this is all upper back work, so keep that head neutral. Make sure that you're not lifting it up to try to look at the TV. Keep it glancing down, and just work at a nice, even tempo from each arm. And when we tell you you're done, you're done. So you should feel all behind the shoulders, high shoulder blade work. You feel that low back, you gotta stand up a little bit and squeeze the core. All right, we're going back down to the ground, guys. This is our straight arm tricep overhead extension. And then we go to a wide press. So remember, slight bend in those elbows so we don't put all the load into the elbow joint, but perform most of the movement here from your shoulders. Think about that core. You should be driving and bracing your back towards the bench or the floor, preventing yourself from arching or your back really pulling high off the ground
10.
every time you reach up. Rotate those wrists away from you so your palms are facing your feet. And we're pressing in that nice wide formation. Every time we're at the bottom point, got those 90-degree elbows. Remember, there's only one more exercise after this. So work hard here. 20 reps of these. Nice tight core, always bracing. Feeling those triceps.
20.
Woo! All right, guys, we're standing up. We've got our split squat next. So remember, you only need one weight for this. If you haven't sunk all the way down deep into that isometric split squat, do it now. And we've got our hammer curl. 10 on each side, and you're done. Keep cruising here. Think about those legs to distract you from your biceps.
10.
Think about your biceps to distract you from your legs.
A little bit of both.
See which one works for you. Last set of 10 here. Almost there, guys. One more.
Yep.
10.
Woohoo!
Boom. There you go, guys. So another workout wrapped up for the week. You guys did awesome. You feel awesome. Hopefully you do too. Because I love that tight feeling in my arms when I finish.
The noodle arms.
And the noodle arms. So make sure that you subscribe, comment below so that you can stay in the race to win the gift card money. And share it with whoever. Remember, you can join this competition whenever and work back and double up days as you need. These are nice, quick, efficient 25 to 30 minute workouts. So no excuses. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.